Alright, this is going to be a weekly recap from March the 7th to the 11th, and I had a total of 12 trades. Not really happy with this week because I did miss out on a super impressive opportunity with JPEX, and a little upset because I did have these two red trades. So only two red trades. I don't really count this one because it was just a tiny 2 cent fee from Fidelity, and these two trades that did not work out, they were a lot bigger than most of my average winning trades, which wasn't good. And the only thing that I can say that was in favor for me not feeling too bad is that these two trades here were on a day that level 2 data was totally off. It actually was off the entire week, I believe, and my lesson for this week is do not trade if level 2 is broken. That's simply the case there. It threw me off on this JPEX trade, and it definitely made me lose on these two here. So that kind of, again, messed up the stats because these losses here were much larger than the average gain here. Other than that, I still ended up profitable, which was nice because I did have one trade here with LKNCY that worked out nicely, and I was undersized in theory in this one. I should have had, I guess, 40 shares or maybe 50 shares. That would have been closer to a $10 risk level, and that would have helped it greatly. But it was still a nice trade there, and I had a 75% winning percentage. Half of my trades were according to my dollar risk level, and it also didn't really help that these two trades. No, actually, I guess it wasn't that bad. I thought these two trades here were really close, if not the $10 risk level. I did have a $20 risk level with JPEX, which was totally fine for how nice that setup was. But yeah, those two red trades really threw off the stats, and that my average dollar gain was smaller because of those two red trades, including the percent loss, although it's not that off. Dollar size is something to know. It looks like I did actually trade a bit larger in terms of dollar size, but yeah, in theory, I didn't have to lose, or maybe lose a lot less, or definitely have been able to have been profitable with TGGI. If not have a losing here and then a winning trade afterwards when the setup did play out, just because the level 2 was off, it threw me off, and the time is about the same. I made $4 with $3,000 of trading volume, but in theory, this could have easily have been $100 week, very easily, with the same amount of money traded with JPEX, which is totally fine. Let's just go ahead and start and go over the setups one by one. And I'm gonna get a drink of water before we start, but I'll try to go through it quickly. Okay, let's start with the first trade, which is morning panic bounce play with ILUS on the 7th. And just by looking at the notes here, it seems like the level 2 issue was as early as Monday, because I noted here in this trade that I got out of it just because the level 2 was totally off, and it apparently right here says that the setup did play out, but again, I got out because the level 2 was totally broken. I guess it threw me off more than what I thought, and I don't know if it will continue this level 2 problem with E-Trade on Monday, but if it is going to be a problem, I'm going to have interactive brokers because their data was nice, and I was able to trade the rest of the week after JPEX very nicely because of the fact that I did have the proper data. So let's look at ILUS for the 7th. 7th is right here. Not a bad red day to consider a trade, even though it doesn't look nice when you look further back. It did make a move from this 12 cent level to the 20s. 7th is back here. Let's go ahead and highlight the beginning part of the day because that's when the pattern was, and that was a buy at 9:41 a.m. 1620. So 9:41 right here, 1620. So I essentially thought, all right, well, here's the morning panic bounce play. It drops, made a low here, kind of went back to the level here, but it's still holding. It can be something that I can trade based off of the 16 cent level, and then I could be in at 16.2. And considering that, in this case, I probably have to have been 5,000 shares. I wasn't 3,000 shares, so I wasn't that off. from trading in theory a roughly $10 risk level. So not too bad there. And I was out at 945 at 1626, which is a very small difference. 945 was my sell right here at 1626 right here. So, you know, again, I was in at, what was it, just to make sure, yeah, 941 right here. I was in it right here at 16.2, and I got out at 16.26, which is the bid here. I didn't sell at the ask at 16.5, which would have been nicer. Or I think I actually did sell a piece at 16.4, but it wasn't the entire position, and it did break past VWAP. If I had, for example, my order sitting between the bid and the ask, I would have been filled eventually, especially when it uptrended to this level, because at that point, my sell in the 16.4s would have went through. I think I sold a portion at 16.4, but not everything, because of the fact that I was thrown off by the level 2. And although I did sell a piece at 16.4, I sold the rest at the bid, which is why I made a little, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the best setup. But I could have sold at 16.4, and that wouldn't have been bad at all. Again, I'm even trading my minimum $10 risk level with setups like this. Not a bad trade overall, but a lot of lessons learned from it. And, you know, I can't beat myself up too much because I didn't have the proper level 2. Let's look at TGGI for the 7th, and this was the first dip under VWAP. Seventh is right here. Yeah, it looks like a nice breakout attempt. It didn't do it, but it looks like it was trying to. I was in at 948, 23, 948, which was right here at this 23 level. That was my entry, right? Yep. And I got out 952. Well, just to go over it first. So it has a nice morning spike from this 2-cent level, and it got as high as this. Well, I guess it's not that nice, but if you count the tippy top, it got to 22, which is a 10% move. So because it had a nice move towards the upside, I was thinking, all right, it's going to downtrend, break under VWAP, maybe look for a consolidation level, which was here. I would have probably basing my risking my trade off of this level breaking, and I'm in at 948, which actually wasn't too bad. You know, hindsight 2020, maybe this 202 level, but my entry was nice at 203. Even though it was at 948, I did get the very bottom of that minute, so was the bid, and it did uptrend. I sold at 952, 206 right here. 206 was my average, so maybe I didn't sell everything at 952, but this is when I got out of the trade completely, and maybe I sold a little bit higher, then a little bit lower. It averaged out at 206. That wasn't that bad. It didn't get much past VWAP. It did downtrend one more time, slightly higher than this bottom here, and it did make another move towards VWAP, so it would have been very hard to really lose money on the setup like this, and that was all in mind with this potential breakout over this 20 level, which ultimately did fail. Yeah, it did fail, but at the time it wasn't. It was still a possibility, and I don't think that was a bad setup at all. I was severely undersized though in this case. Maybe it should have been 25,000 shares. You know, I did get the bid, so maybe I wasn't even expecting to get 203. Maybe I was thinking I was going to get something higher, like 204. But not bad for what that was. I do need to work on that, which is sizing in appropriately. Making sure, you know, just doing the quick maths that I have the appropriate amount of shares. So that when I'm in this situation here, you know, where I have a losing trade, it stinks. But, you know, if I'm profitable more often than not, if I pick the right setups, it's going to be well worth it. Overall, you know, summarized, I can't be undersized on the winning trades and then properly sized or oversized on the losing trades. I can't do that. Let's look at the 8th. IOUS was a morning panic bounce play, and this one did not work out. So let's look at IOUS. right here. So not the best day. The first two were clearly better, but yeah, let's look at the 8th. I was in at 9:33 a.m. 13:16. Yeah, so this is one where it didn't work out when I was in it. Right here at 13:16. Here's an example of a morning panic bounce play that didn't work out. It did downtrend. I can't really tell too much from the wick, but maybe the drop wasn't even that nice. Yeah, I mean, it dropped from 14 to 13, which, I mean, let me just take a look. 14 to 13 is like 8%. So, yeah, ideally it can drop more than 10%, which it did later, but I did take a try here and it didn't work out, obviously. I was in at 13.16 and I was trading a $500 position size, so that's a bit larger. Again, at 9:33. Right here, I was in at 13.16, so it's not like I got the very tippy top of this candle. And it did work a little bit, but I did see the very common price action that it wasn't going to play out, and this would have been a situation where maybe I would have sold better if I saw the bad price action on the level 2, but the level 2 was not working with ILUS here, and that really threw me off, but I did at least follow my plan and get out of the trade at 9:34 the next minute. Right here at 13. Essentially, I was playing off of the 13 level, even though I never really got to 13. But when it did get to 13, and it looks like it was in theory breaking 13, because even though the level 2 was off, you could see the time of sales, there were a lot of prints, a lot of people dumping the shares at 13, and that's why I sold my shares. And that did prevent me from an ugly sell into the 12s. I mean, worst case scenario, maybe I sold at 12.6, right? Let's see how bad that would have been. Yeah, it would have been a $22 loss if I didn't cut losses quickly and stick to my plan. And 22 is definitely greater than, in theory, max loss, which would have been just right around where I ended up at because I sold at 13 flat. So yeah, this was a morning panic bounce play that didn't work out here, but it did eventually play out here. But I never traded this one because I was totally thrown off because the level 2 was wrong on the entire OTC market until like around 11 a.m. So it did eventually uptrend from this 12.5 level to the 13.2s, which isn't the best, but that could have been something I could have traded and I've made a nice amount of money, but the level 2 was off. It was my fault ultimately that I didn't take the time to try other platforms and see if the level 2 data works there. Interactive brokers ended up working again after JPEX. From this trade forward, you can see that things just do look a little bit better overall, and I had the proper data. So part of it was my fault, but in the future, I shouldn't have this issue again. Let's look at TGGI, a morning panic bounce play, and this one did not work out, but it did work out later. Let's look at TGGI for the 8th. I'll be honest, I'm pretty tired right now. If I seem a little off compared to the other videos, there's a reason for that. I'm also kind of bloated because we had like this nice, like I forgot what you call it, but it's like this meat. It's like red. It's smoked. It was really good, and I just ate way too much of that. Let's look at the 8th, which is right here. Yeah, this one pains me, but not as bad as JPEX because this one would have been super profitable. I was in at 944, 1805. Right here, 944, 1805. This would have been a trade where, I guess maybe right here, 1805. This is one, at this candle. This is one where I could have actually been super profitable too, but it didn't work out here, which is fine. I don't mind the loss that I took here. It didn't work out, but I could have probably have cut the trade a lot better and lost a lot less. And then I would have been a part of this move, which really worked out. The ultimate turnaround when it broke this low right here, but just briefly, but it came back. Something I wasn't able to see because the level 2 was broken. And it did make a nice move from the 17.5 level as high as 18.5, which was, something I could have been a part of that. would have been pretty profitable. And that was like what, maybe I guess 5% move maximum, which doesn't seem like much, but I've seen this pattern so many times that this could have been something that I could have traded with like a $20 or $30 risk level and have profited off of it super nicely. I was out at 947 at 1778. Right here, this big red candle, 1778 right here. I don't mind it at all. Again, my entry at 944, 1805. Right here. So essentially, it looks like the morning panic bounce play was going to be right here, and it was going to play off of 18. If I were to have seen that it's going to break under 18 with the proper level 2 data and everything, I probably would have sold at 18, and I would have lost very little money. Right, just to go over, I would have lost just $1. But it did break under it, which sucked, right? But then it started the uptrend, and I thought, okay, maybe it's playing off of 18, but it did break under it this candle, and now it came back, and now it's going to play off of it properly in uptrend. But I saw the sketchy topping price action from the time it sales, and I was totally thrown off. If maybe I had proper level 2 data, maybe I would have saw like somebody with maybe a million shares at the ask, or maybe just a big wall of people selling at the ask, or maybe not a lot of people at the bid and a lot of people at the ask, because this is what would warrant something like this to happen. And I did cut the trade, but in theory I might have even have just sold at 18 flat when I saw I was gonna break it before it did, or I would have sold better just seeing the price action here now looking good with the level 2. Really messed me up. I would have lost either way if I had the proper level 2 data, because it didn't play off of 18, it played off of 17.5, but I would have then have traded this, one more time and have been super profitable. Really stinks, but hopefully next time I can be able to, trade one of these properly and make some nice money off of it. I'll be back in a moment and go over the rest of the trades. Okay, let's look at HMBL, which is a morning panic bounce play, double bottom second. Okay, so not the best setup, but let's go ahead and look at it for the 8th. The 8th is right about here. Not really the best stock to trade because it has like a horrible daily chart that just shows a history of it just downtrending for such a long time. But I did trade it, so let's go over it. And that was a buy at 1123, 1295. 1123 right about here, 1295. So I was in it basically right here in this little red dot. So in theory, morning panic, here's the bottom, double bottom. Not really that much of a double bottom because it did downtrend below this level here, but just barely, I guess. And then I'm trading this one on top of that, so it's like not the best, but that was the trade that I took right there. And I was out at 1126 at 1296. Barely made anything off of this one. I did try to trade close to a $10 risk level. Let's look at 1126. 1126 would have been right here when I cut it. I think I did sell some at 13, not everything, and then I immediately sold the other section of the trade because it seemed like it was going to downtrend, and it did, but it never broke under the risk level at this 1273. It did get to 13 too, so this was me just trading, again, something that wasn't really too ideal, just to go over it. 1123, 1126. Right here. And I got out 1126. I probably sold some at 13 here before it downtrended, or maybe 13. This one at 1125. I never got to VWAP, which would have been ideal. Best case scenario, I'll sell at 13.3. If it just continued to make a move towards VWAP, would have been pretty profitable and a nice percent gain too, but it didn't really play out here, which was fine. Again, not the best setup to consider stuff like that. Although, it did uptrend a little more, downtrended one more time, and it did touch it eventually. So it wasn't really a bad setup. It wasn't really bad at all, but I remember taking this one kind of late because the level 2 data started to work again, and ILUS offered something similar. I didn't trade it because the data was still bad when I saw an opportunity with ILUS. As you can see, it would have been the same setup here. This would have been a lower low. Here's the morning panic bottom, but then, eventually, it did do this lower low off of here, and that was a move that eventually traded itself up. It got much tighter, as you can see, and that was a move from this 12.5 level to the 12.8s, and then it continued to make a move towards the 14s, which was super nice. That's something I like to, continue trying and, be better at. All right. Now let's look at the one that could have really made the week here. JPX, morning panic bounce play, but this is a gap down. This is like one of the best setups that I know. One of the best. And I hope in the future it probably won't be with JPEX. There's going to be another OTC. I can be able to trade this and really make money off of it if I lose in the next trade because it didn't play out fine. But really, really, really unfortunate that I just missed out on this one because the level 2 data threw me off so hard and it looked super bearish. And I had to trade basically off of the chart, not the level 2. So I had half of the tools available. And, with all of that, pressure, it just didn't feel good. And really, 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 really unfortunate. This one really worked out. Let's look at JPEX for the 9th. Jeez. The 9th was right here. One more tick, actually, right here. Nice gap down, 60% down. All you need to look for with a setup like this is that once it has a gap down, you want to see if it's starting to consolidate or if it's going to keep downtrending, and then look for that consolidation point, find a risk level, play off of it. Oh man, I really messed up. Well, I didn't mess up, but I could have made so much, but the level 2 data was off. At least I figured it out after that day. Or maybe the same day, with HMBL, but that was so bad. I was in at 932.41. Right here at this 41 sub penny level. I was basically risking 40 breaking, which was also VWAP. Worst case scenario, I would have sold at 39 or maybe 38. Let's see where I have my risk level at. Yeah, 39. If I were to have sold at 39, I would have lost 20 bucks, but this would have been totally worth it. If not, I could have even traded more, but the level 2 was off. And again, I was in at 932. I got out 934 at the same price right here, when it was really looking like it was going to break under the level. I'm sure if the level 2 was working, there could have been a lot of bidders supporting it at 40, and I would have never sold at 41 because I would have seen so many people supporting it because it did warrant this move towards the upside. But I sold because I wasn't able to see that, and it just looked like it was going to potentially break under. But I'm sure the level 2 data showed a lot of people were supporting it at 40, and that would have given me the conviction to keep holding it since it didn't break my risk level anyway at 40, 40 breaking. But it looks like 40 was going to break, especially with the bad level 2 data. So unfortunately, this one just really worked out without me, but at least I was in the setup. I just didn't get to really profit from it. And this is all hindsight 2020, but in theory, could have drawn a trend line from the bottom of the wick, from this red candle to the bottom of the wick of the next candle, if it lets me, and then I will extend it to the right. That would have been a sell. Best case scenario, which would have been very hard, I likely would have sold half at some point. Best case scenario, sell at 53. Let's just say 52. What would that have been? Yeah, that would have been $100. Almost a 30% gain. That's crazy. And it looks like my average percent gain is still dookie. Oh, it looks like I didn't even... Oh, right, because I lost on this trade, so I didn't... I didn't include it because this was a break-even trade, but that would have helped with the stats a lot. Of course, I didn't really include this one in my stats because it was a break-even trade, but this could have made my week. I got really thrown off after this. I just started to just feel burnt out. I just have to really keep going, but This could have been a super profitable one. I could have made money on TGGI, could have made money on ILUS, but the level 2 data threw me off. Now, maybe in maybe if I could see an alternate reality and maybe I didn't trade them perfectly, even with the proper level 2 data, okay. But at this point, I feel like I could have traded them properly just because I've traded these setups so many times and I have so much experience trading these. But trading it blind without level 2 is pretty dumb. Let's look at HMBL, which is a high day breakout. I did like how at the end I was trading setups that were not something in my realm, which is morning panic bounce plays or things like that in general. I started doing breakouts, trying to get better at that. Let's look at HMBL for the ninth. Right here. Nothing too significant other than that it downtrended and maybe it's going to actually hold a certain level here and continue the uptrend, but yeah, I guess it's still holding it, but it's not that strong. Again, not the best daily chart. Let's highlight the knife. I was in at 1155, 1438. 1155 is right here. 1155, and that was 1438 right here. I did see one, excuse me, I did see this one a little late. Maybe I could have been in earlier if the level 2 showed it, but it looks like a lot of volume went through, so it might have been hard for me even if I did see the uptrend, but probably could have gotten a little bit of an entry. And I was in at 1438. Again, just a clear high a day breakout based off of this range. I wouldn't really count this too much, but it will be something that I'd be worried about if it looks like it's not going to break past that after it starts to break out right here. And I was in at 1438, which is above this level. Definitely out of my realm, and I was out at 1156, 1449. 1156 is right here, 1449. Let me actually just zoom in a little more since, yeah, but at that point it doesn't really look like, the breakout doesn't really look that noticeable. Essentially try one more time to see if I can get it to show a lot better, but maybe something from here might look a little cleaner. I guess it's about the same. And I was out at that 1449 level. So right around here at 1156. And, I just thought it was a bit iffy in that, okay, maybe, this uptrend happened because there's a whole bunch of volume right here, but maybe, all that volume is gone. Somebody just wanted to buy a bunch of shares and made the price go up and now it's going to come back down. But no, it actually did continue and got as high as this 1547 level. Let's just see what a sell at 1492 would have been. That would have been a lot nicer, and I was trading according to my dollar risk level. Not exactly $10, but pretty close. Yeah, because my risk level was 13.6, which was pretty far, but I was giving myself some space in that maybe I'm in it right here in a downtrend, and then maybe it's going to take longer for it to play out. Worst case, it breaks this 13.8 and I'm out at 13.6. Maybe my risk goal was a little too wide, but that was the idea there. That was a nice attempt, and that one did continue the uptrend, so not bad at all. I obviously could have sold it way better, but this is something that I don't have that much experience with, but I am getting better at it. Let's look at KG, multi-day breakout morning spike. Okay. Typed it totally wrong. And again, that was on the 10th. Right here. Not the best uptrending stock pattern. I kind of don't like how this was most of the move, and now as these two were just consolidation candles, but this one actually made the move towards the upside, and it did uptrend the day afterwards, but again, kind of trading within a range, and this is a red day too, but not too horrible. And it is a sub penny, which makes it kind of hard to trade, but this one went from a sub penny to a regular penny stock, which was nice, although I didn't really hold on to that. It was nice for what it was at the moment. Let's look at 932, at 93. So way back here, I was in at 93 because I saw the morning spike and how it was breaking past this give or take sub penny 90 level, and it looked like it was going to do the breakout. So I was in at 93, right around here at 932 on this uptrend. And as you can see, it did get as high as 1 cent, but it did immediately come back down, and it did offer some sketchy price action, as you can see right here. Very sketchy price action. Again, me being in at 93 here. And I got out the same minutes at 90, well, almost 95, right? Almost 95, so maybe like right around here, just right under 95. That was a nice attempt. I did have a proper dollar risk level for something I'm not even that good at, again, compared to morning panic bounce plays, but this one continued the option throughout the rest of the day, and I do regret not being aggressive. Maybe a dip towards VWAP here could have been kind of interesting, and it's just something I could have been more aggressive with trading it throughout the rest of the day, but this was right after JPEX, and I felt pretty like just burnt out, just upset that I wasn't able to get that one, but I could have been more profitable if I was able to again trade it multiple times throughout the setup, especially how it was breaking out throughout the entire day. But again, I just gotta keep going and try not to burn out. Let's look at LWLG for the 10th. Multi-day breakout, dip buy, head and shoulders. All right, let's look at LWLG for the 10th. 10th is right here. So it did have a bottom, and it's starting the uptrend. I remember trying to be a part of this when I saw this downtrend right from this $16 as low as $7, and I was trying to get in at the turnaround when it broke under this trend line. But this thing is just so sketchy. But it did eventually, I guess, consolidate around this level, not very nicely, and make a move towards the upside. So I guess it's not absolutely horrible. But let's look at the 10th, and as you can see, this one was a nice day to consider a long setup. I was in at 1038, 807. Right here, this candle. So why was I in it? Nice morning spike, downtrends. I missed this. This was a bit too quick and not ideal. And this is a higher priced stock. It trades kind of weird. It's not even an OTC. It used to be one, but it's a listed stock now. Just a very sketchy overall. But this was something that I was watching again because it was kind of breaking out of this $8 range. As you can see, this was resistance, and it finally broke out of it nicely here. So I was interested in it right here when it dropped just briefly under 8, but it immediately came back, but it was too quick. I missed this one, and then I made a nice uptrend to the 840s. And then when I made a downtrend, I was in it right here at 807, playing off of $8, breaking under. And it looked like at the time, you can watch the video, I called it, it made a head and shoulders. And I was thinking of buying the little dip before it makes a shoulder and selling into the shoulder, which at this case here didn't really do something that nice. It only got to this, 820 level. This is a very basic looking head and shoulders pattern. And then it downtrended. I could have taken it again here, but I didn't. Again, just kind of thrown off with JPEX. I was out at 1039, 811. Right here, right around here. Just a bit shaky with the way this one was trading. And as you can see, it was kind of weird looking anyway, right? But it did, play off of that idea. And then it made the uptrend later. I don't regret missing this one too much, but overall, I was just kind of shaken because I just missed out on JPEX, and that was such a nice setup. But again, it played off of the $8 level here, and it made a nice move to the upside. So definitely a lot of room for potential, but that one did throw me off. Let's go over the last 3 trades with LKNCY. Okay, this is the last day, and I had 3 trades with LKNCY. I'm going to try this week to pick things up a little bit. Again, try sticking to the dollar risk level and all of that, but I just need to not, be so jaded and burnt out. Just keep going. But this was very nice with LKNCY. I tried a morning panic bounce play higher low, a morning panic bounce play, and the inverse head and shoulders in the same order. Let's look at LKNCY for the 11th. Right here, you can see it just had a massive downtrend from the 13s, and I was really playing it off of this certain level right here where I thought maybe it was trying to hold in the mid 8s level, but actually downtrended even more. Pretty big red day for the 11th here, and let's highlight it. Maybe a little closer. And I was in for the first setup. In theory, a morning panic bounce way higher low. 10.05, I was in at 8.74. And with these trades, I was severely undersized. It wouldn't have made that much of a big difference because it was a higher priced stock. But in theory, maybe 80 shares there, and then maybe 50 here, and then this one 50 shares, right? I wouldn't have made that much more, although this one would have been the most noticeable one. Again, these are just higher priced stocks, so they don't trade with the biggest range. But let's see, 10.05, again, I was in at 8.74. 10.05 was right here, 8.74. So I was in right here at 10.05, and in theory this was a morning panic bounce play. Dropped from this level right here, from the $9.66 level to $8.70, so about $1 of a drop. And again, the goal is VWAP. It did make a move from this 870 level to 902, but not the cleanest. And then I was in it right here thinking, okay, it's going to play off of this level. There's going to be a buy right here. In theory, it can get to VWAP in the $9 range, and I'm in at 878. But as you can see, this one did not work, and it broke under this level, and it continued the downtrend. I was out 10.07, 875. Right here, 10.07, 875. So right here, I barely made a profit. I just didn't like the price action, the way this one was trading. And I was right from the price action. I just thought it was going to actually break the day low and continue the downtrend, and that's exactly what it did. It got as low as the 780s very quickly, and it did drop even more throughout the rest of the day into the 750s. Well, that was a great, trade attempt. It didn't work out there. It was a scratch ultimately, but that was fine. And now let's trade. Not trade. Let's look at LKNCY for a morning panic bounce play. So again, I thought this was a morning panic bounce play, but obviously had more downtrending. So then I tried again when I thought this was going to be the ultimate morning panic bounce play a bit later in the day, past 10 o'clock. But now the downtrending has stopped. It even accelerated here. You can see how, the angle just got more dramatic at this point right here. And I thought this could have been the turnaround. This was ultimately the turnaround, but I don't mind missing this part right here just because, thing was trading sketchy, and I did, try here and it failed. So if it fails, I feel like it might fail again and continue to fail, and it doesn't have to turn around, but this one did. Some of these stocks did just downtrend the entire day, but my second trade was around this range, 1034, 802 basically, right here. 802 was my entry, and I was essentially risking off of this 795 level breaking, and then maybe I guess in the 790s. In worst case, I'm out at 780, I believe is what I have my potential. Yeah, worst case cut losses quickly level, and it never got to that point. And if it were, I would have lost $4, but this is one where I could have been sized in a bit more. And I sold at 1036 at 828. Right here, the tippy top actually. Was that really the high? That might have been the high. I might have sold the very tippy top here at 828. Maybe it got to 829, but basically sold the very top. And I was selling it while it was still uptrending, before it looked like an ugly red candle. And I just sold because I just thought the price action was kind of iffy, kind of weird, yeah. I said right here, sketchy price action, and I was undersized. A really good sell here. This ended up being the move. Let's just see what I buy at. Let's just say 795, and a sell at 835 would have been. Because I could have done that, but I just wanted to step back because it was kind of weird looking. And then if I was sized inappropriately, I guess at that point, I'm in at 795. I'm going to cut it if it breaks under 780. Worst case, I'm out at 770, so my risk would have been 770, right? So then I would have to double my size. I would have made 16 bucks, which actually is a lot more than what I thought it would be. Okay, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I traded this section here. This ended up not being the ultimate morning panic bounce play. The setup kind of worked because it did an uptrend, but it wasn't, you know, the morning panic bounce play here. This was ultimately it. And the last trade was the inverse head and shoulders. The idea was that this was the shoulder, the head, uptrends, shoulder, best case scenario, breaks this level, and I sell into VWAP, and then it uptrends even more past VWAP, which I've seen happen a lot of times, and that will be a nice trade. It didn't really work out here, as you can see. This one did not work out. I traded it well, and I didn't stick to my dollar risk level. Let's look at 1109 at, let's just say 801. Right here, 801. Maybe not the best entry right here. But that was right before I had this little baby wick here, and it looked like maybe it was going to do something. So I was in that 801 right here. It could have been it, you know, a shoulder, head, and then a shoulder. But as you can see, it just went out for a really long time, and it did have a little spike here into the 806 level, but it did fail, and it continued to downtrend, right? I got out 1116. I guess 801, but you know, I made a small amount. 1116, 801, right here. I was out right here. I made a small profit. Obviously didn't work out. This was another scratch, but it was a nice attempt. This one just took too long. And sometimes they do work if it takes too long, but this is one where I just continue to downtrend. And I'm happy I tried it, even though it didn't work out. Just to summarize, I tried it right here, playing off of this level. I tried it right here, and I sold nicely. I missed this one, which ended up being the nicest one, but I don't mind missing that one at all. And I tried this one, and this one didn't work out. So yeah, that's about it for this week. It was a lot of opportunity for this to have been an easy $100 plus week, and that's not even, you know, trading crazy size. I would have traded the same size. It's just that I got thrown off with the level 2 being broken on E-Trade tomorrow. God willing, if I'm, you know, able to potentially trade anything, I'm probably going to stick with interactive brokers with data. But if I see that E-Trade is working, I'll stick with E-Trade because E-Trade looks a lot better. To anybody out there who is watching this, you know, have another broker ready. You know, if maybe the platform isn't working and the level 2 isn't doing, you know, its best, it's looking like it's broken for the day or with some kind of delay, you know, you should have another broker ready to go so you can use that level 2 and you don't, you know, miss out on a potential opportunity. I don't really have it saved just to go over it, but oh, here's one. As you can see, this is interactive brokers, right? And then this one is a, whoops, I clicked on the same one. This is E-Trade. The level 2 was just off on OTC setups. This is normally what, you know, my setup looks like, but E-Trade wasn't working. The level 2 wasn't working. And I had ultimately by the end of the week, as you can see, the LK and CY trades I took again right here. And then I traded again right here. And this one was still downtrending, which ended up being the nice, you know, move, the biggest move. But you can see I had the proper level 2 at this point with interactive brokers. So just have extra brokers to avoid your week being robbed from you by not having the right data. That was my issue. Even though it was E-Trade's fault, I should have had another broker ready. At least in the future, if this happens again, I'm ready. And yeah, that's all I have for this week. Sorry if it was a little choppy or a little weird compared to the others, but I just gotta keep going. I feel kind of burnt out, but it's gonna pay off at some point. You know, the longer I'm in this, the more likely it is going to really pop off. I'm thankful that I ended up still with a positive week overall. And yeah, I just have to keep going. I'm thankful for God for it. And again, that's all I have for this week.